Names of Hebrew origin are extremely popular all over the world, and especially in Spanish-speaking countries. They are widely used, whether inspired by biblical passages or family tradition. If you still haven't found a name for your new baby, I invite you to go over 80 popular names of Hebrew origin in Spanish. Aaron. It comes from the Hebrew Aaron, which probably derives from the root har, meaning mountain. So it translates as the one from the mountain. Abel. It is associated with the Hebrew word gebel, which means breath. Adriel. It comes from the Hebrew Adriel, which is interpreted as the flock of God. Ariel. It comes from Ariel, which can be translated as the Lion of God. Abigail. This biblical name comes from the Hebrew Abigail and is made up of the root ab and gil, which means joy, so it translates as the Father's eye. Adalia. It has its root in the word Ada, which means beauty, Adina. It comes from Hebrew and means the delicate Anna. It derives from Hannah, which means pious, benevolent, or full of grace. Bartholomew. One theory traces its origin to Hebrew, which means son of Ptolemy, referring to the ruling dynasty in Egypt in the 2nd century before Christ. Benjamin. It comes from the Hebrew name Benjamin. Originally, it was Benanin, which means son of my sorrow, but his father Jacob changed it to Benjamin, which means son of the right hand. Bethlehem. This name comes from Bethlehem, which means house of bread, but it is a toponymic name referring to the city of Bethlehem. In Palestine, Bathsheba. It comes from the name Bathsheba. It is believed that it may mean daughter of opulence. Caleb. It comes from its Hebrew counterpart, Caleb, which translates as faithful and bold. Carmela. Its origin is found in the proper name Carmel, which means garden of God. Daniel. Derived from the name Daniel, which comes from Dan, judge or law, and El, which means God, that is the justice of God, or God is my judge, David. This Hebrew name comes from David, which means the beloved one. Dalila. It comes from the ancient Hebrew Delilah, which means the delicate Deborah. It's a Hebrew name that comes from Deborah, which means bee or worker, like the bee. Dinah. It comes from the name Dinah, which means justice. Elias. It originates from the Hebrew Eliyahu, which means Yahweh is my God. Eliseo. It comes from the Hebrew name Elisha, which means God is my salvation. Ephraim. It comes from the Hebrew Ephraim and translates as the fruitful Emmanuel. It is the Spanish version of the Hebrew Emmanuel, which means God with us. Ezekiel. It comes from the word Yeshezkel, which translates as God is my strength. Edna. The name Edna shares its origin with the word Eden, the mythical garden, and it means delight or pleasure. Eliza. Its origin is in the ancient Hebrew Elishava, which translates as the oath of God. Esther. It is believed that this Hebrew name means the star. Eva, from the Hebrew Hava, and it means the one who gives life. Philia. It comes from the word evil, which means bearer of life. Gabriel. This biblical name originates from Gabriel, which is interpreted as God is my strength. It originates from the name Gerson and means the stranger, Isaac. It comes from the Hebrew Yitzchak. It means he will rejoice. Isaiah. It derives from the name Isaiah, which can be interpreted as God is help. Ishmael. It is believed to come from the Hebrew Yishmael, which has its root in the verb shaman, which means to hear, so it is translated as God. We'll hear Israel. It originated from the Hebrew name Israel, which means the one who struggles with God. Isabel. Many sources point to this name as a derivative of Elizabeth, whose origin, Elisheba, means the oath of God. It comes from Hakmi, and this from Jacob, which means protected by God. Jero. This name comes from its Hebrew version, Yair, which translates to the one who shines. Jeremiah. It originates from the name Yirmiyahu, which means God has inspired. Joel. It comes from the Hebrew Yoel, which means he is God. Jose. This name came into Spanish through Greek, and from there from the Hebrew Yosef, which means he will add. Juan. The name Juan has its origin in the Greek Johannes, which in turn comes from the Hebrew Yohanan, which means favored by God. It comes from Simeon, which can be translated as the one who has listened to God. Joaquina. This name comes from the Hebrew Yehoakim, which means God will build Judith. It comes from Yudit, which in Hebrew means Jewish woman, but it could also mean the praised one, Lazaro. It's a derivation of the Hebrew name Eleazar, which means God is my help, Levi. It's a Hebrew name that comes from Levi, which means the one who unites his own, Leah. It comes from the Hebrew Leah, which means the one who works, Mateo. The origin of this name is in the Hebrew Matityahu, which is interpreted as gift of God, Miguel. This popular name derives from Michael, which translates as who is like God, Magdalena. It has its origin in Migdal, which means tower. It derives from the form Migdal, the tower of God. Martha. It originates from the Hebrew Martha, which translates as the lady, medium. It comes from the Hebrew Miriam, which is also considered the root of the name Mary. Some linguists translate it as the exalted or the eminent. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell to get notifications of new videos. Nathaniel. It comes from the Hebrew name Nathaniel, which means given by God. Noah. It comes from the Hebrew term Noah, which means rest, peace, or the one who gives comfort. Noemi. It comes from the Hebrew Naomi, which translates as kindness or gentleness. Nazaret. This toponymic name refers to the city of Nazareth, in Hebrew Nazaret. Osias. It originates from the Hebrew name Hosea and means God's salvation. Otoniel. It comes from the word Otoniel, which means God is my strength. Raphael. It comes from the name Raphael, which translates to God has healed. Romelio. This name of Hebrew origin means the beloved of God. Reuben. It comes from the Hebrew Reuben, which means look, a son. Raquel. Its origin is found in the Hebrew word Rahel, which means the sheep. Rebecca. It comes from the name Rivka, which can be translated as captivating Ruth. This name comes from the word roit, which means friend or ally. Samuel. Its origin is in the name Samuel, which means heard by God. Santiago. It comes from the name Ayako, to which San was added, changing from Santiago to Santiago. Simon. It comes from the same Hebrew name Simon, and it means the one who has listened to God. Soel. It originates from the name Saul, which means the one requested from God. Seraphim. According to its Hebrew origin, seraphim means the one who burns. Salome. It comes from the name Shalom, which comes from the word shalom, meaning peace and health. Sarah. It comes from the Hebrew Sarah, which means the Princess Sharon. It comes from what literally means the plain Susanna. It originates from the name Shoshana and means white lily. Tobias. It comes from the Hebrew Tobias and means God is good. Tamara. This name comes from the Hebrew Tamar, which means the palm tree. Yael. His name comes from the word Yael, which means mountain goat. Zebedeo. It comes from Zebediah and is interpreted as gift of God. Zacharias. It derives from the word Zacharias, which means God remembers. Soel. It originates from Hebrew and means son of Babel, and that's all for today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to this channel. I invite you to also activate the bell so you'll be notified when there's a new video. See you soon.